Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. Hope you guys had a great weekend, man. I'm so happy to be here. I am still tired, but today was the last day I had to work, so I'm going to rock out this show. We're going to have a great time. I'm drinking this Celsius, so my body is like going crazy right now because I'm super tired, but I got crazy adrenaline going in me. And then I'm going to go to sleep, and I'll be able to actually get some rest tonight because I don't have to go to work tomorrow, man. I hope you guys had a great weekend, and I really do appreciate you for joining me. I am intent on going through this hearing, right? And so I have not seen past Acosta. And my understanding is now an expert from FDLE is going to be going through, or Orange County. I got to watch it. I don't know. I don't think it's FDLE. I think it's Orange County. An expert is going to explain the whole process of the Cellbrite and all that stuff, which I think is going to be very interesting, and also talk about the process of factory resetting a phone. So I think this is probative stuff I want to go through. I did miss one on the last show. I was very, very, very tired. I know some of you guys don't care. I know some of you guys have seen it like 20,000 times too. And like I skipped over a little bit of what Acosta said when he basically talked about them going to the security shed and watching Stearns leave the complex with Maddie in the passenger seat. I didn't mean to skip over it. I really just was focusing on the phone aspect. I know there's other things that people are interested in as well, but at the time I really was just focusing on the phone because that's what the motions are for, like the phone. Can the phone and will the phone be thrown out? But I was really tired, and so it is what it is. So don't get mad at me, okay? We don't break news here. That's not what we do. We react to things, we pick things that we're interested in, and we talk about it. And that's what we do on this show. We are never the first to bring it out. We're never the first to go through it. We're not even the first to react to it, but we're the first to bring our own unique twist to it. All right. So just remember that when you come here. We do appreciate you. All right. Now, some cool stuff happened. I want to show you something. That's right. Somebody gave me the Scooby-Doo, so I appreciate that. That was really cool. Somebody in the comments, one of the viewers sent me an email with a whole bunch of Scooby-Doo sound effects, so we will grab it up and put it inside of the show when it's appropriate and make sure that we play the Scooby-Doo. So I do appreciate that person for doing that. Thank you so much for showing that love. I also want to highlight, before we get started, a comment made by a viewer, and I think that this is profound. And I got to tell you, like the last few weeks, you guys have been sending me the most amazing theories, and I've been showcasing them. For you guys. See, you guys sent me the doppelganger for Jen Soto. That video is just going crazy right now because the lady looks just like Jen Soto, and her name is Jennifer, and her daughter's name is Madeline. How coinky-dink is that? That's insane. The doppelgangers. So how did I get that video? I didn't find it myself. You guys sent me that video, right? The theory that we covered that was so groundbreaking, that theory that even other channels like Plunder spoke about and gave the channel credit over it. We appreciate that. We love when people show us love. That came from you guys. That wasn't my theory. That was you guys, and I gave you your credit for it. Now, somebody just put something very profound past my purview, and I want to definitely show that to you guys. Let me bring it up over here. Boom. We'll make it even big. How about that? So Heather Sargent said she sent a text to Stephan Stearns saying, I can't sleep with Maddie anymore. I can't risk it. And I feel like it was autocorrect from the phone saying you because my phone always autocorrect you. So what they're saying is that instead of Jen saying, I can't sleep with Maddie, because it just didn't make sense, right? Like, everything that we've seen, every fact, right? Not what we think, not what we feel, all right? But every fact, right, that we know about Jen is that Jen didn't take a part in the essaying. Ladies and gentlemen, if Florida law enforcement officers found even like a picture of the abuse and they saw like a shoulder that looks like Jen's shoulder, a hand that looked like Jen's hand, her face, whatever, she'd be in jail right now. She would be in jail right now. They don't have any pictures, videos, anything that ties Jen Soto to the abuse of Maddie. So when we heard that statement, that text message from Jen, it just threw us for a loop, because we expected with a statement like that there'd be some proof that she was participating in these terrible diabolical activities that Stephan Stearns was placing on Maddie. We was expecting there'd be some type of proof of that, right? Because that is a guilty proof piece of evidence, whatever. Guilty knowledge, right? But what if Heather's right? What if Heather's right? What if Jen, with the fat fingers, not saying she's fat, not body shaming her. I got fat fingers when I type. It's just a saying. Oh, you called her fat. No, I didn't call her fat. I said fat fingers. I have those. What if Jen with the fat fingers while she's typing, she presses the wrong button, or the phone auto corrects for her, and instead of her saying, you can't sleep with Maddie anymore, we can't risk it, or I can't risk it, she said, I can't sleep with Maddie. Why would she say I can't sleep with Maddie? She sleep with Maddie all the time. And if she's talking about that other version of sleep, why is there no evidence? If they're both, Stephan Stearns is a collector. Stephan Stearns is a PT file. If they were both abusing Maddie the same way, he would have recorded them doing it. He would have gotten Jen Soto on recording. That recording would have been stored in the cloud because what? He was a collector. And they would have found it during their dump. But I never believed that Jen was in the bed doing things with Maddie. I never believed that, because I don't think it's a part of her psychology. Her psychology is willful ignorance. Her psychology is, I don't know. I don't want to know. I just want to go to sleep. I just want to take my pills. I just want to go. I don't need to know. She seems happy. He's happy. That's her psychology to me. That's what Jen Soto, that's the type of mentality I think she has. She's not going to participate in that. But she's the type, in my opinion, that'll let it happen so long she doesn't see it with her own eyes and pretend like it's not as bad as what it is. Come into the room to wake them up for school and see him strudling all over her and say, oh, well, maybe he's just, that's how they show their love for each other. They're just really close. And not think that it could be more than what it was, which we know it was. Maybe she started to find out. Maybe she started to realize that things was worse than what it was. That's why she said, well, the sex stuff isn't bad, but the murder is evil. Maybe she started figuring this out recently. And maybe this was her way to try and slow it down. Because Maddie was getting too old. Because Maddie might start telling. And if Maddie tell, not only is he going down, but she's going down too. Because if Maddie's alive to tell how mommy was willfully ignorant and led the lamb to the lion's den, guess what? She would be charged. The only reason why she's not charged, in my opinion, is because she can't speak from the grave. But maybe this is her speaking. Just a little bit. I can't sleep with Maddie anymore. I can't risk it. But maybe it was, you can't sleep with Maddie anymore. I can't risk it. Food for thought, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we do here on this channel. We do theories. We do theories based on the facts. And I think that this is a good darn theory. Let's give it a yay. You did a great job, Heather Sargent. Hopefully one day you'll turn that name green and you'll subscribe to become a member of the Strategic Eyes Show. I appreciate you. Really good job. All right, that being said, guys, let's get started on this bad boy because I'm jacked up. What you guys don't notice is like the night times, by the time I do the show, when I do the night shows, I am exhausted. My brain doesn't even function. I stumble over my words. My thoughts get all jumbled. I'm so fatigued, it's not even a game. But we gotta get into this because if I don't do it now, you won't get a show from me for a whole week, you know? So we got to power through because we need to be a voice for the voiceless. And guess what? Sometimes that requires sacrifice. Sometimes that sacrifice might just be your sleep. But today I have no excuse because tomorrow I can sleep in just a little bit. So let's get into it.
Yes, Your Honor. Sergeant Darko. Examine it.
Please raise your right hand to be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to enter into this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I did.
How's the sound? You guys can hear it? You know how the sound sounds. Sounds like it's kind of low. Well, yeah. I don't know. You tell me.
Will you please say your first and last name and spell both for the record?
Darko Stamenic, D-A-R-K-O, S-T-A-M-E-N-I-C.
How are you employed?
I'm currently a sergeant at the Orange County Sheriff's Office Digital Forensics Squad
How long have you been a member of the forensic squad?
since June of 2023.
What type of training have you undergone to perform some of your duties in the forensic team?
So going back to college at the University of Central Florida, I minored in IT. After that, I went to Cellbrite School where I became a Cellbrite certified operator as well.
Now, right before I was supposed to go into the police academy, they signed me up to go to Cellbike School. The state did. And I was like, yo, take that training, dude. But, you know, I'm always a team player. I've always been a team player throughout my life. And it's done me well. It's done well for me, rather. So I went to my supervisor and I said, listen, man, you know, I'm going to be leaving soon. And, you know, the police academy might call me at any moment. So don't let me take that Cellbrite spot. Let somebody else take that. And so I never got the Cellbrite training. I should have. It would, you know, it would have benefited me. At least on this show. I mean, I couldn't use it in the police department because the police department has separate people for everything. And I don't want to work crime scene, so I never applied for that unit. I'm exactly where I want to be. But at least for this show, I would be able to say I'm a certified Cellbrite technician. Unfortunately, I missed that training. I had the opportunity, but I missed that training. Well, I didn't miss it. I gave it up because it was the right thing to do. Somebody else should have got it, which I think they did. Let's keep going.
Well, Cellbrite certified physical analyst. Those are two certifications that we have to use some of the tools that we use. And then I also went to the International Association of Computer Investigative Specialists where I obtained my certified computer forensic examiner certification as well.
Translation, you're a nerd. Let's keep going.
Did
I'm
you
just joking.
download any phones as part of the investigation into the disappearance of Madeline Soto?
Yes, I did.
Did you first download a phone that belonged to Madeline Soto?
Yes.
When did you begin that cell phone download?
It was shortly after 2 p.m. on February 27th.
Okay, 2 p.m. February
Do you
27th.
recall about what time that download was completed and viewable?
I believe around 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's a couple hours.
A couple hours, right?
Okay. So, can you explain how an extraction is done with the equipment that you used in this particular case?
Yes, so we have a tool that we use to extract the data. So we connect the phone to a tool. The tool's able to extract the data, bypass any whatever passwords there are on the phone, if there are any. Extract the data from the phone. Then we take that data And we have another tool that parses that data, basically makes it readable by a human.
Is the time that it takes to extract the data from a phone variable upon the specific phone and maybe the data that's included in the phone?
Yes, absolutely.
Specifically with Madeline Soto's phone download, after it was completed, did you have the ability to share the data with other law enforcement officials that were working that same investigation?
Yes, I did.
How did you do that?
So we have a tool where we're able to upload that data that we extracted, and we're able to share it in the cloud to detectives, so detectives out in the field can view it.
Did you do that with Madeline Soto's cell phone the same day that
Yes.
you covered the data?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
Did you also
Think about you in the field. You get that email like bring bring. You open the email and you see the stuff that Stephan Stearns was doing. Wow. Oof. I don't even think they're supposed to be sending that around like that. They're very strict protocols on CSAM, and you're actually not supposed to email. And he didn't say specifically that he emailed CSAM. They just said that they could send stuff to people in the field, but technically you're not supposed to email CSAM around. You're not even supposed to have it on your devices, to be honest with you. You're supposed to, CSAM's supposed to be placed on a removable thumb drive or a CD or a medium like that, or a hard drive. And it's supposed to only be accessed on certain computers. And it's not supposed to be, it's supposed to be read only and not downloaded onto any computer. You're not supposed to, I mean, as law enforcement, the way that the feds want us to handle it is very strict. So I hope they're not just emailing this stuff around. And obviously they were, because they were showing it to Jen and doing all kinds of stuff. So I don't know. Florida just does whatever they want to do. Let's keep going.
complete the cell phone download for the defendant, Mr. Stearns' phone in this case?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall when you received Mr. Stearns' cell phone?
Yes, so shortly before 3 a.m. on February 28th.
Did you wait at Orange County Sheriff's Office Central Communications Building?
I did, yes.
So you waited for Detective Acosta to come from Kissimmee?
Correct.
What did you do upon receipt of the phone?
I began extracting the phone, and then I went home.
Started at about 2:28 at 3 a.m.
Yes.
So what specifically did you do with the phone to begin the extraction?
Connect it to a tool and follow the procedures on the tool to begin the extracting the data.
Was the cell phone itself secured in any way prior to your receipt of it to secure the data in the phone?
Yes, it was placed in airplane mode.
And after you plugged the phone into the equipment that you utilized, you said you went home.
Correct.
Did the cell phone download process during your period of absence?
Yes.
Did you secure the room that this was being completed?
Yes.
And what time did you arrive back?
I believe it was about 8 a.m.
Did you check on the progress of the phone download when you arrived back?
Yes,
Was it completed?
it was.
Can you explain, for this particular phone, I believe it was a Samsung type phone,
Correct.
how do you factory reset it?
Yes, so you have to go into the settings of the phone. I believe this the next button says general settings, so you have to go into there. Once you go into there, you have to scroll to a button that says factory reset. Once you press the factory reset button, it asks you a couple of times if you're sure. It makes you type in your PIN code to the phone again to verify that it's you to reset the password, to reset the phone, I'm sorry.
So it's multiple steps to actually accomplish a factory reset.
It is, yes.
Does that make sense?
It's possible to do if you're simply updating the operating system on that particular phone.
No, the button to update is in a completely different part of the settings.
When this specific phone is factory reset, and and the user goes back on to, again, utilize the phone, is there any information that is populated on the phone from prior uses?
Yes, so when you're resetting the phone, it asks you to log back into your Google account, and then information that you have backed up on Google will repopulate onto the phone.
Which is where Stern screwed up, because he should have made a new Google account. But even so, the detectives would have still observed that he didn't have any data on it, that he had factory reset his phone, because, you know, his call history was only a couple hours old. His location, his history was only a couple hours old. They would have still took the phone, and Cellbrite would have still been able to retrieve everything that he factory resetted. So it got caught anyway. But before we get back into this, let me show some love to these people who want to show me love. You know, we got to do that on this show. That's very important. So big shout out to Olivia B., who's a recruit member. Joanna Michelle, who's now a patrol member. Thank you so much. Erin Greer, who's another patrol member. Shannon Vaughn gave me $2.99 super sticker. Thank you so much. And Song Bix Laura is celebrating 2 months as a recruit member. And Mia M with a $2 super chat to Strategic is cutting up again with that wig. This is my court wig. I'm the only one dressed for court right now. You guys know around the world, everybody looks like this. This is my court wig. Let's keep going.
If the phone is placed in airplane mode, does that prohibit the phone from resyncing with a Google account?
Yes, it does.
If items are subsequently deleted from a Google account and the phone is in airplane mode, do the items remain on the phone if they've been backed up?
They do.
If a phone is factory reset, is it still possible to obtain location data and other information from before?
All right, he's going to answer that question. I got to show big love. M. Rachel with a $1.99 super chat says, thank you for what you do. Thank you so much. Spring it back.
Is from a Google account.
Setting the phone, it asks you to log back into your Google account, and then information that you have backed up on Google will repopulate onto the phone.
If the phone is placed in airplane mode, does that prohibit the phone from resyncing with a Google account?
Yes, it does.
If items are subsequently deleted from a Google account and the phone is in airplane mode, do the items remain on the phone if they've been backed up?
They do.
If a phone is factory reset, is it still possible to obtain location data and other information from before the factory reset?
It is, yes.
How do you do that?
Different ways. So, for example, the pictures, if pictures are backed up, if the pictures are pulled again, the pictures may have location data associated with them. So things of that sort.
Does that make sense?
Thank you. Cross-examination.
All right, hold on. Real quick from, we're up to the cross now. Real quick from Marcia Klepper with a 5 gift membership. Thank you so much, Marcia, for supporting the channel. All those people who got those gift memberships, make sure that you thank Marcia for her generosity. All right. Who else said? Somebody said something. I think it was Jules. They said, Strategic, you wear many hats, literally. They got like every single hat emoji that we have. We do wear a lot of hats, don't we? All right, let's get into it. So now we're doing the cross-examination, and let's see what the defense has to say about this.
Good afternoon.
So you're in charge of doing the forensic downloads on the phone?
Correct.
Okay. And when you're doing those forensic downloads, you said that there's a tool that you plug the phone into to fully download the phone, right?
Correct.
So it's not just downloading the information that's immediately accessible to the user, it's downloading everything, right?
Correct.
When it's doing that download, does it do a bit-by-bit copy of the entirety of that drive?
No, it depends on the phone.
Okay. And with this particular phone, did it?
This particular phone, it did a full file system extraction, so it's not a bit-by-bit copy.
Gotcha. So when it does that, though, if the phone's factory reset, you can still pull that information off the phone even though it's not immediately accessible to the user?
Like, I'm sorry, what information?
The information prior to the factory reset.
Oh, no, not necessarily, no.
Okay, not necessarily, but in this case, you were able to pull information prior to the factory reset, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
I'm confused why he's hesitating, because my understanding is that they were able to pull the information he had on the phone prior to the factory reset. But then he's saying not necessarily, no, yes, like which one is it? And I'm not being critical. I'm just trying to understand why the sergeant is hesitating. I'm curious, were there some bits of data that they were not able to extract from Stephan Stern's cell phone, and that's why he's hesitating? I would hope that they would elaborate on this, because I'm curious.
when it comes to pulling that information, how long can that information stick around on the phone?
So in this case, the information had repopulated after the reset. So it was on the cloud, and then it repopulated on the phone automatically after the reset.
Okay. Do you know at what time it repopulated?
It was, I believe, around 2 a.m. After the reset. I believe the reset was around midnight, and over the next couple of hours, the phone
Okay, so I think what he's saying is that the phone repopulated itself anyway, so they didn't have to get what was previous on the phone, because the phone pretty much backed itself back up. And what is it when you back up something and then, I don't know, and then you put it back on? What's the technical term for that? You guys let me know. Repopulated, but no, there's another way. Repopulated is more of a law enforcement kind of like scientific term. There's like, everyday layman term, whatever. The bottom line is sync. That's it. Yeah, sync is good. There's another one too, but sync is good. So it resynced. So I guess that's what his hesitation was, because it's like, well, we didn't need to try and dig deep into the file system and get what he marked for deletion with the reset. We got it anyway because it got repopulated around 2 a.m. So my question is, didn't Sturm notice that his phone, that he just did a factory reset because he's trying restore? That is it. Trina, you are amazing. Restore is the word I want to use. That's the everyday layman's term for it. So didn't Stern notice that the phone that he had just tried to wipe twice continued to restore itself? I'm wondering, like, didn't he notice that when he had it in his possession? I'm curious.
repopulated.
You're saying 2 a.m., same day that you downloaded it or before?
No, it would have been when the phone was reset, and I don't want to speculate. Date.
Gotcha, no problem. When it comes to a phone being factory reset, are you on any kind of timeline to make sure to recover data?
Not really, no.
Okay, so that's not.
So somebody asked an interesting question. I'm going to answer it because not everybody, most of you guys are probably Apple phone users because that's the dominant phone in America. Google automatically puts everything back on your phone when you factory reset, because they're assuming that you're factory resetting for either two things. Either A, you're factory resetting your phone because there's some type of glitch or something, or you got too much stuff and you want to just go ahead and clean the phone out, clean all those bugs out. You want a fresh copy of the OS, or you're changing phones. The factory restore, the factory reset and the restore is most beneficial when you're upgrading your phone or you're just getting a new phone. Everything that you had on your own phone goes on your new phone. So as soon as you if you don't want your phone to restore, you don't put in your Google account, or you put in your Google account and you immediately go to the settings and you say, don't restore. You can do that. But if you don't do that, it's going to automatically restore your phone to the condition it was in the previous phone or in that same phone prior to you doing a factory reset. It's an automatic thing. It's supposed to be for convenience for you, because they don't expect you to be resetting your phone to try and hide CSAM. They don't expect that most people are doing that. They think most people just want to reset their phones because the phone is acting buggy, and or they upgraded to a new phone and they kind of want all their contacts back. They want all their pictures back, because the pictures are supposed to be happy pictures of people smiling, having picnics, not people doing the things that Stephan Stearns was doing. So he's an outlier, but let's keep going.
Not a concern to law enforcement, right?
No.
Okay, so once it's factory reset, it's factory reset, doesn't matter.
Right.
Your phone,
Of course.
When you did the download of this phone, anybody give you a warrant alongside the phone?
No.
No, of course.
Read rec. Witness, step down.
Yes, sir.
It's, Sergeant Stanek, excuse me.
Your Honor.
Where we at right now? We at 30 minutes. Okay. Let's see who else comes to testify. Aki says there's a little break, but she says, like, because I didn't watch this, Aki watched it. She said there's a break and that Stephan Stern starts talking to his attorneys. And I think he said he wants to use the bathroom or something. He wants to go take a tinkle, but you can't really understand what he's saying. And then who testifies after that? She says 5 minutes. And then he talks to his attorneys. You kind of see that. And then what happens? It looks like the judge took a poopy too. Where'd the judge go? Where'd the judge go? It looked like he left the bench. He had to go tinkle too. And Stearns wanted to go tinkle. Let's see what happens when he comes back. Does anybody else testify? I don't know who this lady is, but she testifies. So let's go ahead. Let's keep going. I'm not tired yet. I'm tired, but I'm not tired because I'm drinking these Celsiuses, which I shouldn't be drinking because you guys told me not to drink it. But let's see a little bit of Stearns, and then let's fast forward to the lady that's going to testify. I don't know what she's testifying for.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
This court is in a 5-minute recess.
Okay, so they're in recess now. Yo, every time I see that tattoo on his back, like it's like I told you last time, it's like my imagination goes wild that's like his tramp stamp that Bubba put on him in the cell. Like, you belong to me, Steffi, baby. So he used the restroom and they said no. So Lily says she tried the autocorrect and it said it did the whole U thing for the I. It's interesting. You can't sleep with Maddie anymore. I can't take the risk. Think about it. Oh boy, we got snitches in the chat talking about they're going to call my mom and tell her about the energy drink I'm drinking because mommy told me not to drink it no more. Y'all snitching, man. All right, look at Stephan Stern's head. Look at him. He's getting old. It's all grayed out. He can't use Snapchat to put the filters on his face anymore. Make his face look soft. Nobody's there. Nobody's in the courtroom. I'm going to Florida. I'm going to get up in there and chronicle this thing. All right, so we'll fast forward and see his legs shackled. That's deep. They got it on tight, too. Somebody give this cameraman a Nobel Prize. This guy is amazing. He's getting all the good shots. Aki, screenshot all this stuff. We can get some good thumbnails with Stephan Stern's ears. All right, let's fast forward a little bit.
Not great. I fake it. I fake it. Next time I might give you like a little. Yes. I wasn't prepared to be expecting to stay like.
Just for you guys to know, we're not supposed to hear what they're saying because that's attorney-client privilege. So Technically, if we hear what they're saying, it's a problem. Here's Aki. She about to destroy me. Like, fast forward. Tell her. All right. I need to get this to work. Okay. Mia M says, have you heard from his father again? Nah. Nope. Probably because I've been going crazy on them lately. I've been in that ass. Especially after those jail calls. Them Stearns ain't gonna hit me up no more. You think, would you hit me up after what I the jail call critiques? If you was the Stearns and you listen to those jail call reactions, would you hit me up again? Probably not. That's why I don't talk to people like that. Like, you know, I chose not to engage them on the show because I need to be free to speak my truth. And, you know, I would never put myself in a position where I put people on my channel and, you know, I let them control the narrative. You know, I'm sorry. If you're going to come here, I'm going to give you some tough questions. I'm going to be fair to you 100%, but I'm going to ask you tough questions. And if you give me answers, I'm going to challenge you on those questions, you know, and that's it, you know. So this is not the platform for those type of guests. Moving forward, we're not even going to entertain it. We thought about it. We're a new true crime channel. You know, the Stearns hit me up. I'm like, oh boy, you know, this might be excellent for the channel. But moving forward, this is not that type of channel. Our truth is too raw to have those type of guests on this show. So moving forward, we just about speaking our truth, you know, and they could go, these folks could go to other channels and have platforms to do that because we're not that platform for it. We're too raw, just too raw.
Please come to order. Serve before the back and session. The Honorable Chief Carson presiding. Thank you. Mr. Knight?
Your Honor, let's seek some clarification from the court as to whether we're going through all three motions today or just the first two that we're going over, because the state's position is that the burden is substantially different for the challenge to the warrant.
Understood. Do you believe that you have presented the witnesses for the first two motions?
If the first two motions are the seizure motion and the consensual search motion, yes.
Thank you. Defense, in your motion as to the motion to suppress evidence obtained from the Google search warrant, there was some argument that the defense does not have the burden or has satisfied its burden. I'll entertain an argument as to that.
May I brief on?
Sure.
Okay. And what the judge is saying, he's not saying they won. He's just saying that they've made a sufficient argument on what they on the point they were trying to prove in their motion. He still has to come to a verdict for it. So a lot of people hear him say like the defense have satisfied. You know, no, he's not saying that they've won. He's saying you've told me enough, and I get your point.
When it comes to the burden for attacking the warrant itself, the primary basis.
But they still get the opportunity to argue it to him, you know, to make an argument. So the point is made. You have made a sufficient motion, but we can still argue it if you want to argue it. So let's keep going. We could debate it.
This for the state's argument is on four corners of the warrant affidavit. So when it comes to the burden itself, we would be arguing that it's satisfied at least for the arguments we heard at this point, considering not challenging the actual document itself.
Understood. So, did you anticipate presenting witnesses or evidence in support of that motion?
No.
Okay. So you're just going to present an argument?
Yes. Based on, right now we have the chain of how the warrant came about, and then getting to the cell phone
So you're going to make argument as to the sufficiency of the warrant itself and technical defects?
Yes.
And rely on the evidence that's been adduced in cross-examination to support the probable cause, or the lack of probable cause for the...
Right.
Does that give the state any clarity?
Yeah, so basically what the defense and the judge is talking about, just for layman's term, for those of you who don't understand, is the defense, they don't feel like they need to call any more witnesses. They don't have any more witnesses to call. What they're saying is, listen, through our cross-examination of these witnesses, we've already established that there was not enough probable cause for the officers to seize the phone and to extract the data from the phone, and also to get the warrant for the Google, because what they're pretty much claiming is fruit of the poison tree. What they're saying is this whole evidence chain started out rotten. So anything you got after it is tainted and should be thrown out. And so they're going to do their arguments and they're going to put forth their arguments, but they don't need to call any witnesses because they feel like we've already gotten sufficient information from the witnesses that we've cross-examined already that shows that it's fruit of the poison tree. And that's what they're basically saying. Big shout out to Londonberry, 1 month White Shield membership, says, do you think SS was possibly selling to CSAM, or that Maddie was getting a cut? Huh? I'm not sure. Maybe you said that wrong. Did you meant to say Jen was getting a cut? Or you literally mean that Maddie? I certainly don't think that Maddie was getting a cut of anything but the abuse. So, okay, so Londonberry said, Jen, I said, I like you, Londonberry. She's a very good supporter. I was like, girl, you better, you need to go drink you some Celsius because you talking reckless right now. But it's all good. You meant Jen. Absolutely, you meant Jen. No problem. I don't know. It's possible. It's definitely possible. But we don't know. We don't know. Because a lot of that stuff was being done on services that are encrypted and is very, very, very difficult to track. Such as, what's the service that he was on that was very difficult to track? What are we talking about, chat? Give it to me. Come on. I'm waiting for you. Okay, I guess there's a delay. Telegram. Thank you, Zara. So he was on Telegram, and that's encrypted, and it's difficult to track, and you can also do financial transactions over Telegram. So there's no telling, man. There's no telling. Let's keep going.
Florida Rule of Criminal Procedure 3.190, subsection G3 specifically states if the court hears the motion on its merits, the defense shall present evidence supporting the defendant's position, and the state may offer rebuttal evidence. That the defense's burden is to show that there's grounds for suppression of the warrant. I don't believe that burden has been met for the state to be required to present rebuttal evidence. The affidavit is not before Your Honor.
All right, so as to sufficiency of the warrant, what evidence does the court have to make some determinations as to the sufficiency of the warrant? Talking about the technical defects that are alleged.
What is Jules talking about in the chat? Jules said, oh my God, at the chiropractor, some man 23 years older than me asked for my number. I said no. Then he said, you use Telegram? I said no. I don't use end-to-end encryption. He's still not deterred. He still was not deterred. She said, yo, what's up with this generation? She said, I don't use end-to-end encryption. That's kind of funny, though. Yo, let me get your number. Nah, you got Telegram? Nah, bro. I don't use end-to-end encryption. That's funny. Now, you supposed to give him that number. You get that sugar daddy. What's wrong with you? Don't you want your college paid for? I'm just joking. Shannon Sharp. Now, R Rocker with a $5 super chat says, love you, strategic. Honored to be here. Wow, that's strong words. Honored to be here, man. I'm honored to host you to be able to talk to you to get your attention. So the honor is all mine because you guys could go to a billion other YouTubers. So I appreciate you for joining me on this journey. Thank you so much for the love, Rocco.
It's not part of the court file. Search warrants are not part of the court file.
Absent some affirmative presentation of evidence regarding the argument, there is some kind of technical deficiency that makes the search warrant of the Google activity unlawful. It's going to be hard pressed to make a determination as to that. Let me ask the state. Are you requiring the defense to recall the witnesses that have just testified, or if they can find their argument to information that was elicited either in direct on cross, does that satisfy their burden, or shall we go through that entire exercise again?
I have a moment.
Sure.
Rocco gave a 1 gift membership. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Whoever got that gift membership, make sure you say thank you for Rocco's generosity. Thank you. All right, we're going to have to fast forward here. Somebody's going to say, no, you missed something.
The state is of the position that the defense's burden regarding challenging the search warrant has not been met. The state's not going to require the defense to recall the witnesses that have previously testified. However, there is no information before the court about the Google search warrant at this point. So the state's position is that they have not met their burden pursuant to the Florida Rules of Criminal Procedure to shift, to require the state to present rebuttal evidence at this point.
So they kind of like did the defense a favor by not having them to recall the witnesses and question them again, but they're saying like, hey, listen, we don't want them to call these witnesses again. We're not trying to force them to, but we don't feel like they've made any argument. Like, so what they're saying is, listen, all right, they made arguments for the seizure of the phone. Okay, that's what most of the testimony was for, but none of this testimony had anything to do with the Google search warrant. The defense is saying, well, we don't need to specifically even say anything about the Google search warrant because it's fruit of the poison tree. And the state is like, no, yes, you do. So yeah, we're not going to ask you to recall these witnesses and question them give them additional questioning, but we don't think that you've made your burden. And now they're shifting it to the judge. Like, well, judge, what's going on here? Because we don't agree with you. We don't think that you've made your burden, even though the judge said that they've made their burden just a few minutes ago. So let's keep going. Scrappy with a 5 gift membership. Thanks, Scrappy. Thank you so much, Scrappy. Appreciate it. Thanks, Scrappy, for his generosity. Everybody who got that gift membership. Very kind.
Now, additional testimony, the court's going to rely on the testimony that's been provided. There was a cross-examination and a redirect. That information is in the record. The defense can make argument that satisfies their burden or not. Is the state anticipating presenting additional evidence?
The state has an additional witness should the court find that the defense has met their burden to challenge the warrant.
Defense makes argument that Google warrant relied on illegally obtained evidence and that there was no attenuation or intervening circumstances that urged the taint.
See what he said? He's basically explaining that the defense is saying fruit of the poison tree. Let's keep going.
It's her testimony from the investigating detectives that challenges the legality of both the search and seizure. That appears to be what the challenge on the warrant refers to, and that it is invalid as fruit of those illegal searches. As far as the application failing to establish probable cause, the court does not have the application. As far as the legal standard, probable cause in digital search warrants, the court is uncertain what kind of warrant this was or whether it was a digital search warrant. The argument that it fails to establish the sufficient nexus between the Google account and criminal activity, I don't have the affidavit, so that would be a difficult finding for the court to make. The reliance on boilerplate language, again, the court would have no evidence to support that argument. The temporal scope of the court would have no evidence to support that argument, and peculiarity for digital searches. Without additional information, the court would find that there's no evidence to support that argument. As to the evidence supporting the arguments that the search warrant is invalid based on lack of probable cause, based on reliance on illegally obtained evidence or intervening circumstances purging that taint, and being invalid as fruit of an illegal search and seizure, I think that evidence has been reduced in combination with the first two motions. So as to those issues, the court will find that there's been record evidence that supports that argument.
All right. Once again, he's not saying that they're winning. He's saying that they just met the burden of their argument, but he has not made a ruling. But ladies and gentlemen, like I told you guys 1,000 times, I think that the defense is going to lose on this one. But I think there's a possibility he might come back with a ruling that might split the baby. I don't know, man. I like to read body language, even though it's not a science. As much as people will tell you it's a science on the internet, it's not a science. But when you use it in conjunction with experience and stuff like that, sometimes you can get some good results out of it. This guy seems like he's a very tough but fair guy. And I don't think he liked the testimony of Tagler. I don't think he liked the testimony of Tagler. I have a feeling, I could be wrong. I want to be wrong. I'm telling you guys, I've always told you guys from day one that I feel like, that I know that the defense is going to lose this motion. Because he did give consent a number of times, but the defense, and, I said it from day one. I said it from day one. People got mad at me. People unsubscribed from my channel. The emotional people. The people who are not here for true crime. They're here because they're emotionally connected to this case. And so if you say anything that counters what they believe, then they get mad at you. They're not intrigued by the legal process of this. The mystery of this. That's what true crime is. No, they're just emotionally invested. I've lost many of those subscribers because I dare to tell you guys the other side. I don't just come on here as a cheerleader like, yes, justice for Maddie. Yeah, let's go marching and stuff. No, I talk about this from a legal, educational, intellectual perspective. I have a feeling that there's a possibility he might throw that phone out. Oh, hell no! I don't know why I got that feeling. I don't want to have that feeling. I take no pleasure in having that feeling, but I got a feeling. He might throw that phone out. But he might let that search warrant stand for the Google Drive. Now, people saying that the courtroom is low, there's nothing I could do about it. It's just naturally low. That is literally how the feed was delivered to the news. So there's nothing I can do about that. But let's keep going.
Given the hour at this point, depends on you guys. We can buy for three, first two motions, third. Given the seven.
These three motions were set together, and we're going to address all three.
Given the court's ruling, the state will call its next witness, Detective Taylor Howard.
Who's this lady?
Raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to enter into this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Right this way.
Please say your
So this is my thing, all right? And I don't mean this in any wrong way. It's just my opinion, all right? And I'm one pro. There's other people who are law enforcement professionals who watch this show. I don't understand how any law enforcement professional who has done search warrants like crazy, maybe they're a detective, maybe not, because in some agencies, like regular officers be pulling search warrants. Like in my agency, regular officers rarely pull search warrants. Detectives pull search warrants all the time, right? I don't understand how anybody who's like out there doing this would not agree with me that a search warrant should have been gotten to get into that phone. I don't know what's going on here. It's just popped up. Get that out of there. Something popped up on my end. You guys couldn't see it. Like, nobody searches phones like that without a search warrant. Like, why wouldn't you get a search warrant? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason why you wouldn't get a search warrant. Even if they gave consent, like this is a homicide CSAM trial, like why wouldn't you just get a search warrant? You know, it's not like a search warrant would slow down the searching of the phone. It takes an hour to get a search warrant. Every single municipality has a judge on call. Even in tiny towns, they have a judge on call who will wake up out of his bed and sign the search warrant for you on his porch. It doesn't have to be in a court. The judge has the authority no matter where they're at. In small towns, the judge will sign it. The deputy will drive to the judge's house at 3 a.m. and the judge will sign the search warrant on his porch. You know, like, search warrants aren't a trial. Like, when I sign a search warrant, I go up to the bench with the prosecutor and they say, yo, this is why we want to do it. And the judge reads over it. Okay. And then they sign it and that's the end of it. I'm not saying like they just give it away. Like they read it. They try and make sure that they respect people's rights. They respect the Constitution. But if it's all lawful and everything in there makes sense, they will sign the search warrant and send you on your way. So I don't understand why any law enforcement officer would say, oh, well, you know what? He gave consent, so that's okay. All right, well, you know what? It's not that it's a problem that he gave consent. It's not that he couldn't give consent. The point of what I'm saying is that by just taking his consent alone, you leave room for this. Whereas if you'd have just got a search warrant, we would not be having this. They would be doing motions on something else. But they would not even waste their time putting a motion to suppress this evidence because they would say, oh, they got a search warrant, so there's nothing we could do about it. Leave it alone. Because they know that search warrants are rarely ever overturned. So the reason why they're trying to overturn this search warrant is by saying that the voluntary consent was under duress and now the search warrant is fruit of the poison tree. It's not best practices. And the reason why I keep saying that is because we're here. I don't understand how anybody could not understand that I'm right. I'm sorry, whatever. Let's keep going.
Taylor Heller.
Can you spell both for the record?
First name is Taylor. Last name is Heller.
How are you employed?
Bro, she looked like she just woke up. Like, yeah. Or maybe she, I don't know.
With the Orange County Sheriff's Office as a deputy.
Were you
I like her voice though.
employed with Orange County
It's a soft voice. I like people who talk calm. Like you just, I like people who talk calm. I like her voice. Let's go.
Sheriff's Office on February 28th, 2024?
Yes.
Can I approach a witness with both the Mark State C for identification?
Yo, she's high. I'm just joking. She's not high. She looks like it though. Let's keep going. Rosie Rose with a $1.99 super chat, super sticker.
Take a look at state C.
I don't talk calm. Nah. Who is she, by the way? I was so busy cracking jokes on her sleepy demeanor that like I don't even know who she is and what she's doing. Somebody in the chat, tell me who she is and what she's doing.
Did you draft?
She did the affidavit, okay.
For search warrants encompassed in states C in relation to the Madeline Soto investigation?
Yes.
Is this state C a fair and accurate copy
Bro, she's got that slow blink, man. I told you guys, she is zooted right now. That's New York talk. Go look it up. She's zooted.
of that affidavit?
Yes.
Look, and she drafted that search warrant in her sleep. She was sleeping, just like she's sleeping right now. It was so easy. Look, she draft the search warrant. They needed a search warrant. They didn't even do it themselves. They had her write it for them, and she did a good job. She wrote the search warrant up, and they got the search warrant, and they got all that crazy stuff out of his phone. Come on, it's not a big deal here.
This kind of state C to introduce into evidence what the Mark State C into evidence is the state's next number to consider.
No objection.
No further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination. Thank you. Would Detective Miller step down?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is she excused, Miss?
Thank you.
Cross-examination. Officer, did you have a good time last night? No further questions.
Additional witnesses or evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Witnesses or evidence defense?
Maybe she just saw pharmacist Jen Soto. Maybe Jen gave us some prescriptions. She's everybody's pharmacist, man.
No,
Thank you. Parties need a moment to gather their thoughts for arguments, or are we ready to go? Sure. Take a 5-minute recess. Each side will have 20 minutes to present their argument. I'll ask that you compartmentalize into the individual motions.
Does need a break. Can somebody let Stearns go take a pee-pee? He's been asking to use the bathroom all day, man. Y'all can't listen. No cruel and unusual punishment. If Stearns has to tinkle, let him tinkle before they file a motion for that. Your Honor, we'd like to file a motion that they do. Refuse to let Stearns tinkle. All right, we don't need no more motions. Let Stearns tinkle. Aki, let him go on himself. You're so cruel, Aki. So mean. Hey, please. Please. So they let him go tinkle. Good. See? No cruel and unusual punishment. Let him go tinkle. Oh, we got some traders here talking about Team Aki all the way. Mm-hmm. See where your allegiance lie. All right, let's go. Let's fast forward. Let's see here. Some arguments. Hey guys, I haven't been asking. I apologize for that, because if you on YouTube, if thou doth not asketh, thou shalt not receiveth. So I gotta ask for you guys to hit that like button, because if I don't ask, people are gonna forget. There's so many friendly people who are watching the show right now who support the channel, support our mission to give a voice to the voiceless, and they just forget to hit the like button. So please do hit that like button, support the channel. It's most definitely needed. The like button is what gets us shown to a wider audience. It's part of the engagement, and with enough likes, the algorithm will say, okay, this is good stuff, and we should show this to a wider audience. So please hit that like button.
This time defense is moving to suppress the evidence obtained by way of the Google extraction and the entirety of the data that was elicited from Google that was sought by a warrant. Defense is also seeking to suppress the actual cell phone itself and the data contained therein. For the first two arguments as to the unlawful search and seizure of the cell phone, defendant is relying on the United States Constitution, Fourth Amendment, as well as the Florida Constitution, Article 1, Section 12, specifically that as we go through this is all kind of intermixed between the three motions, but looking to the first motion as to the seizure of the cell phone, at this point, now that the burden has shifted, the state bears the burden to prove an exception to the warrant requirement in order to seize the personal property of Stephan Stearns. As to the seizure, defense would argue that no consent was either sought nor given for the seizure of the cell phone, as well as the fact that there is no exigent circumstances that would create this to be a constitutional seizure.
All right. Better Than You with a $2 super chat says, let's retire strategic. Y'all smash that like. Thank you so much. You're so kind. Now they're making an argument right now. Let's see what he has to say. Interesting.
Seizure. As to Detective Tagler, the exact evidence that was elicited was that the detective had informed Mr. Stearns unilaterally that she was going to hold on to a cell phone. This was a declarative statement, not a request. There was no opportunity to refuse the turning over of the cell phone at that point.
I have a feeling they watch my videos. This is my ego talking right now, so don't listen to it. Just mute it. I have a feeling they watch my videos and they tailored their motions based off of what I said when I first heard Tagler talking about that stuff. If you don't believe me, go back to the archives, guys. Go back into my playlist. I've been talking about this for months. People have gotten pissed off with me, but nobody will silence my truth. I'm not here to hurt people. I'm just here to educate. We've been talking about this for months, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly what I said. She didn't give him a choice. She gave him an order. She intimidated him. Let's keep going.
Detective Tagler had the cell phone in hand, was clearly exercising dominion and control over the cell phone, and told the defendant straight up that it didn't matter that he wanted to get in touch with his parents or to continue getting in touch with his parents as the night went on, and simply dismissed Mr. Stearns' concerns and unilaterally seized the phone. The seizure of the phone itself occurred at approximately 8 o'clock at night. I believe it was 1959 hours on February 27th. And as of the morning of February 28th, the phone was still in law enforcement's possession. As it was taken to digital forensics at the Orange County Sheriff's Office, the phone was still in law enforcement possession, which we start getting to a point where we're looking at several hours worth of seizure. The state, or the defense, in its motion to suppress based on the unlawful seizure of the cell phone, had cited to United States v. Place where the seizure of personal property in that case was found to be unreasonable for a time span when this personal property was held for 90 minutes. We're well beyond 90 minutes at this point, and there was no attempt to minimize the intrusion of the seizure of the cell phone. Looking to the state's response, I understand that the state is going to be arguing exigent circumstances, but there was critical testimony elicited from the digital forensics examination witness who stated that once a factory reset occurred, to law enforcement, there was no hope of getting anything after that. During the first interview before this cell phone was seized, law enforcement knew that the cell phone had been factory reset. They dug through his cell phone and they confirmed that it was factory reset. At that point,
Somebody wants to know if Tagler will get in trouble if the phone is thrown out. No, you don't get people in trouble for stuff like that. You know, it's an honest mistake. Tagler wasn't trying to sabotage the case or anything like that. These are just little mistakes that we make as detectives from time to time. We all make mistakes. I've made mistakes before. You know, everybody makes mistakes. I'm on YouTube and I'm a YouTube talking head when I have this hat on. So I'm going to point out the mistakes that other people make. I'm going to tell you guys how the best practices of how things go. I'm going to tell you guys how these things are conducted. But even I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes before too. So Tagler should not get in trouble. Tagler did the best that she could during that moment. And we all have the luxury of, you know, of evaluating what she's done after the fact. But that's also how you get better, by actually getting that critique, that feedback. So this will benefit her moving forward in her career. But certainly she should not get in trouble, because I don't think that anything she or any of these other detectives did was malicious. I'm not saying that the commenter was trying to imply that. They're just asking a very simple question, but I'm giving a more detailed answer. She should not get in trouble. I want people to understand that this woman operated in good faith and tried to do everything that she could do for Maddie. But I think that I think that whatever deficiencies we observe in this case is not even necessarily a reflection of the investigators, but more of a reflection of the department and the type of training that they give their officers and detectives. And your detectives and your officers are a reflection of your organization. So if you're not teaching people best practices and you're not demanding best practices, then you can't get mad when you don't get best practices. They're basically doing what they know and what you deem to be acceptable. So really, all of this critique is not even on Tagler or anybody else, but on the sheriff of Orange County Sheriff's Department, because that's where the buck stops. All right, let's keep going.
No exigent circumstance existed as to imminent destruction of evidence, because at this point, essentially, Your Honor, it was destroyed in law enforcement's eyes. The gentleman testified the fact that there's no time span or immediacy when it comes to learning that the evidence could have potentially been destroyed when it comes to a factory reset. Additionally, the timeline itself of law enforcement's involvement in this case entirely negates the urgency element for the imminent destruction of evidence. From the time that the missing report came in to the time of the seizure of the cell phone itself, it was approximately 20 hours had elapsed. There was no immediate action taken to collect this cell phone, and this lack of immediacy completely contradicts the claimed imminent threat by the state. Additionally,
so he made a good point, and while he's making that point, somebody in the chat was asking that question. So Michelle Morrow says, doesn't the knowledge of a missing child for over 24 hours mean anything? Oh my God. You know, exigency is not an excuse to usurp the Constitution. All right. The Constitution is more valuable than any one person in this country. And it pains me to say that. You guys know I fight for people, but I believe in the Constitution more than people. Be honest with you. The Constitution is what protects the majority of us, and is what makes this nation great. So we have rules, you know, in order for you to articulate exigency, it has to be within a certain time frame. You have to be able to articulate that you need that information now because a life is in danger. Every single year, hundreds of thousands of children go missing. Hundreds of thousands of children return home unscathed. That means they weren't abused, they weren't touched, they weren't nothing. They went missing, they wandered around, they went to a friend's house, and they returned home safely. You can't just say, well, a child is missing, so we're just going to confiscate everybody's phone and celebrate their phones and dump their phones and get all their personal information and all their secrets and all that good stuff simply because a child is missing. You have to articulate that the child is missing and we think something is wrong with the child, and this is the person, the prime suspect. And unfortunately, Tagler did not articulate that during her testimony. Her response was, we didn't know what we really had, but she had already took the phone. So how are you going to take a phone if you didn't know what you had? So, and there's a timetable. So if you had to wait 20 something hours, like he's saying right now, for you to take the phone, well, then you could go get a warrant. And what we're trying to explain to you, what the defense is saying to you, and I hate to say that like I'm on the side of the defense, but I kind of am a little bit because I just feel like it wasn't done correctly. What the defense is saying, what I'm trying to say is that the time it takes for you to take that phone, and she had the phone for 4 hours before it was cell-brighted. She could have got a search warrant. The time it took for her to, if she would have taken the phone straight to the lab, like a 20-minute drive, an hour drive, she could have got a search warrant. But it took 4 hours between seizing the phone and getting the phone cell-brighted. She could have got 10 search warrants in that time. So why not just do it the right way and get the search warrant? I don't know. So exigency is out the window, because if you're saying it's exigent circumstance, why wasn't the phone immediately tested then? Why wasn't it emergency, rush this phone back to the lab right now so they can get tested? That's an exigency. Exigency is right now. We need to have done this yesterday. That's what exigency means. Let's keep going.
When it comes to the seizure of the phone, there was no warrant ever sought. There's no warrant that was presented. This was, again, unilateral action, even though there's been an emergency judge ready to go on duty since the 80s in the 9th Judicial Circuit, both for Orange and Osceola counties, for law enforcement to seek a warrant, and yet they chose not to.
Wow, I'm gonna go back. What do you just? No. Let that soak in for me.
When it comes to warrant ever sought, there's no warrant that was presented. At the time of the seizure of the cell phone itself, it was approximately 20 hours had elapsed. There was no immediate action taken to collect this cell phone, and this lack of immediacy completely contradicts the claimed imminent threat by the state. Additionally, when it comes to the seizure of the phone, there was no warrant ever sought. There's no warrant that was presented. This was, again, unilateral action, even though there's been an emergency judge ready to go on duty since the 80s in the 9th Judicial Circuit, both for Orange and Osceola counties, for law enforcement to seek a warrant.
You see what he just said? I never heard this before. You guys heard what he just said? I've never heard this before. I've never watched this. He just said there's an emergency judge on call 24 hours a day since the 1970s and 80s, just for law enforcement to seek search warrants at any time of the day. He just said it. I said it. And he just said it. Come on.
And yet they chose not to. When it comes to any other potential claimed exceptions, such as the emergency aid exception, it was clear from the detectives that looking through the phone, the seizure of the phone, this was in order to further investigatory purposes.
Right.
This was not a situation where they were seeking to render any emergency aid. The community caretaking exception to the warrant requirement absolutely doesn't come into play. The phone posed no danger. There was no community protection purpose. This was purely an investigative seizure. As to the attenuation for this warrant, or for the seizure.
Bro, he's tearing that ass up right now. I was gonna stop this, but we're gonna have to listen to the end, because I need to hear what the prosecution has to say to rebuttal this, because his motion is kicking butt right now. His argument is kicking butt right now. And you know, the funny thing is, with all the mistakes that was made, Tagler would have testified correctly on the stand. She could have nipped all of this in the butt. All Tagler had to say was on the stand, when she testified in this motion, all she had to say was, at that time, we had already corroborated that he was not where he was supposed to be when he was supposed to be there. We got him on license plate readers in places that he wasn't supposed to be. We saw that he was being untruthful at that point. So he was a suspect. So I took the phone because he's a suspect. And I wanted to get the evidence that would be on the phone because he lied to us about where he was. If she'd have said that, she would have been covered. Because you could seize a phone in lieu of a search warrant. If you believe that the evidence is going to be destroyed on the phone. So for instance, he told her that he had factory reset the phone. She knew that he was lying about where he was driving. All she had to do was say, he lied to us about where he was. Maddie's gone. And he factory resetted his phone and tried to destroy evidence. I seized the phone in lieu of a search warrant. Now, there's a problem because she didn't get a search warrant. But if she'd have got a search warrant, she could have said, I seized the phone in lieu of a search warrant. And if she would have got a search warrant after that, totally legal, totally lawful. There's nothing the defense could say about it. But that's not what she said. What she says was, we didn't really know what we had, so I took the phone. And that's why, and then she got permission from him. She said, yo, can I search your phone? And he said, yes. It's not enough. Because then he's going to say, well, I was under duress. And then they're going to say, well, you didn't have permission to take the phone in the first place. You unlawfully took the phone, and he only said yes because he was under duress and he had to pee, and you guys didn't let him pee. Just like, hey, look, Your Honor, just like when he asked to pee 5 minutes ago, the court bailiff said no. That's what they're going to say. And that's exactly what they're saying right now. Let's keep going.
There is no attenuation from the moment that Detective Tagler took possession of that phone, handed it off to Detective Acosta, and then handed it off to the Osceola, or the Orange County Sheriff's Office. I apologize. There were no intervening circumstances, and this was one continuous chain of possession by law enforcement. So, essentially, the seizure, Your Honor, there's no warrant that's been sought. There's no exigent circumstance that allows law enforcement to collect this beyond the mere claim that they could just unilaterally take it. So for the seizure itself, we would argue that that's unsupported.
Thank you. State, would you like to reply on a motion by motion basis? That'd be helpful.
In the meantime, I know the defense cited some of the case law from their motion. I did have the opportunity to review most of the case law. There is one case that I had difficulty finding, so if the defense has a correct site or a copy of the case, I would appreciate it. I could not find Appellate v. State, the site that you cite. I could not locate. It's on page 7 of your seizure motion.
She slammed that down.
As the defense's argument, the defense relies on place, and place is actually distinguishable. Your Honor, I did provide a court exhibit A. I also have a flash drive. I prepared all of the state's case law from the motion, and I put it on a USB organized by motion so that it was easy to be accessible rather than providing a bunch of paper copies. The state's relying on all the case law presented in the motion, and I made it a court exhibit so that it's in the record for appellate purposes. The first thing that we need to do, Your Honor, is decide whether or not, or what type of seizure this was. I would agree with defense that this was a warrantless seizure of the defendant's cell phone. A warrantless seizure of the defendant's cell phone is permissible when you have probable cause plus a warrant exception. In this case, the state's relying on exigent circumstances. The probable cause...
All right, so for all you guys who keep saying probable cause, they're conceding that they didn't have that. Their argument is exigent circumstance. Maddie is missing. Stern's the last one to see her. We believe we have the power to get that phone in order to find the missing child. At least she was missing at that time, right? So now we're on the same. I want to hear their argument, because if their argument is good, I'm gonna show love to the prosecution as well. We are not on the side of the defense. We are just on the side of good argument. That's it. We are intrigued and in love with the law. Let's keep going.
There's numerous case law that defines probable cause. The court's well aware of the case law defining probable cause and what it is. Exigent circumstances, there's also a lot of case law regarding exigent circumstances. The specific cases that the state is relying on are U.S. versus Babcock, State versus Darter. The state has to show for exigent circumstances. The test that's used is an objective one. The factual inquiry is the totality of the circumstances. The exigent circumstance that the state is relying on in this particular case is the destruction of the evidence.
Okay, that's good.
Courts have found this exception particularly compelling when you're dealing.
Now, I like this argument because I was mistaken that their exigency was going to be on the fact that Maddie was missing. That's not what their exigency is on. Their exigency is on the destruction of evidence, and I like that because Stephan Stearns tried to destroy evidence twice. So let's see where they're going with this. It's sounding good.
Dealing with digital evidence, and that can be found in the Babcock case. We have detectives who are on scene with the defendant, and at the time that the defendant's cell phone is seized, which is approximately 8 p.m., they had the opportunity to view some of the items in his cell phone. They also knew that Madeline Soto did not report to school.
Somebody asked a good question. Will it be a capital punishment case for Stearns without this case? I believe this case is what elevates it. A conviction in this case is what allows them to see capital punishment in the other case. So it probably won't be a capital punishment case if they were to lose this case, but they're not going to lose this case. Even if they lose the phone, I believe they'll still keep the Google Drive, and then they still have the thumbnail that the father gave that had all CSAM on that. So listen, they're not going to lose anything. We're just playing devil's advocate, and we're just respecting the law and the beauty of the law. So just keep that in mind. Stearns is not going to be found not guilty or have his case dropped in this matter. It's not going to happen. Okay. If that happens, I'll be down in Florida protesting with you guys. And I hate protesting. I hate protesting. I hate protesters. But I will put on my protest hat, not this one, the silver one, and I'll go down to Florida and protest with you if this case is thrown out. So don't worry about it. We're good to go.
Madeline Soto has been missing for over 24 hours. The defendant was the last individual to have seen Madeline Soto alive or seen her in person. The defendant attempted to destroy evidence already by factory resetting his phone. He did this on the same day as Madeline's disappearance. That's evidenced by the history that is in his phone that he consented to looking at. The sergeant from the forensics unit testified what it takes to go ahead and factory reset the phone, but he also indicated that when a phone logs into the Google account and the backup starts repopulating, which is what happened in this case, that content will stay on the phone as long as the phone is not syncing with the Google Cloud account. There's evidence and testimony that upon the seizure of the phone, law enforcement officers placed the phone in airplane mode to prevent that syncing. Should the defendant have accessed his Google account and removed multiple items from the Google account, it would not have removed it from that particular cell phone because that cell phone was in airplane mode and was no longer syncing with the Google account.
How did it sync? How did it repopulate? Stop syncing.
When the phone was factory reset and that information corresponding with that Google Cloud account was input upon the starting up of the phone. Everything that was backed up on the Google account from that phone began populating on the phone. And that's the 2 a.m. population that Sergeant Stamanik mentioned that occurred the early morning hours of February 27th. So prior to these interviews, all of those photos and everything else began to populate on that phone that was in his backup. So when law enforcement saw that there were various items missing and the defendant had already tried to destroy the evidence, it was at that point that they seized the phone, placed it in airplane mode to prevent further destruction of evidence. There was also testimony that even though the defendant factory reset the phone, there was still a possibility through different avenues to ascertain that cell phone's location information and different things. So at that point in time, there was a fear that was objectively reasonable to a reasonable law enforcement officer that would lead that officer to believe that the evidence might be destroyed before a warrant could be secured. That is the standard. Probable cause plus exigency. Everything that was known to these law enforcement officers prior to this seizure supports the probable cause finding as well as the exigency finding. They also were aware that the defendant was inconsistent in his statements to law enforcement about where his whereabouts were on February 26th.
All right. You guys paying attention? What is the prosecution saying right now? Is the prosecution not saying at this very moment what I just said that Tagler should have said on the stand when she was questioned and cross-examined in this very motion hearing? Just like 2 hours prior. This all happened in the same day. We've split it up multiple days because it's too long for us to react to in one show. But Tagler just testified 2 hours ago when this was recorded. And did I not just say what she should have said? And now, right now, the prosecution is laying out exactly what I said she should have said. The inconsistencies, the location, etc. Let's keep going.
That Madeline Soto went missing because his initial statements were contradicted by the actual tag reader for his vehicle. His vehicle was seen traveling in the opposite direction of Madeline Soto's school when he indicated that he was driving towards the school and go to McDonald's and dropping her off. There were other inconsistencies that are within those statements that he made, specifically the ones that were provided to the court and are entered into exhibits in this particular hearing. There are multiple inconsistencies. All of these things lead to probable cause and exigent circumstances for the seizure of that phone.
Right.
Therefore, the seizure was permitted by the Fourth Amendment in this case, regardless of whether the defendant said, yeah, go ahead and take my phone. The law enforcement officers had the ability to do that. The defense also mentioned place. That case is distinguishable because in that initial detention, that 90-minute detention that they're talking about in there was based upon reasonable suspicion alone. That court then later says that once that dog sniff was done on the luggage and they developed probable cause, that's where they get the 90 minutes from the time that the luggage is detained until they've secured probable cause. That's not the standard here because the state's relying on the probable cause plus the exigency to support the seizure. So the place case is actually inapplicable to this case as far as the defense's attempt to have the reasoning support their argument.
Thank you. Brief rebuttal, and then let's move on.
Briefly, while the state argues that there's the two-pronged analysis as to probable cause and the exigency, again, when it comes to the exigency, the direct testimony that was listed during the hearing is that to law enforcement, there is no exigency at the point that this phone.
First of all, I am stopping it for a very good reason, but we'll continue. But I just want to say thank you. And the reason why I'm saying thank you is it's midnight 37 Eastern time. And I have over 500 people in my stream watching me right now, watching me react to a video that came out like 3-4 days ago that tons of other YouTubers have already reacted to, that many of you have already watched. So I want to say thank you, because you don't have to be here, but yet you're here. And that does not in any way escape me. I'm grateful to have you guys as an audience, and I'm grateful that you guys believe in me and you find that what I say is probative and meaningful, that you're willing to stick around with me. So just wanted to say thank you. All right, let's keep going.
Is known to have been factory reset, that there is no imminent destruction of evidence because there's no further destruction of evidence. It's already.
And let me go back for a second so that we could just get some context, because I did stop it to say thank you. But I want to make sure you guys have context.
While the state argues that there's the two-pronged analysis as to probable cause and the exigency, when it comes to the exigency, the direct testimony that was elicited during the hearing is that to law enforcement, there is no exigency at the point that...
You see? Oh my God, man. This is what I'm telling you guys. Listen, you got to listen to me. This is my bread and butter. This is what I do. He's now going to explain that, yeah, you know what? The prosecution is right. Yeah, the facts will show that the prosecution is right. But that's not what Tagler articulated. So in her mind at that time, they didn't have probable cause and exigency. Even though the facts may show that they had probable cause and exigency, it doesn't matter what the facts show. It matters what your mens rea is. It matters what was in your head at the time. That's what the law is all about. The law is about what were you thinking? What did you know at the time? And why did you do what you did? That's what our criminal justice system is all about. So yes, the prosecution is 1,000% right. Stearns lied about everything. They had probable cause and exigency to take that phone. Man, they could have just put Stephan Stearns in a suitcase and take him back to the lab if they wanted to. But Tagler did not articulate that on the stand 2 hours ago. She said, we didn't really know what we was working with at the time. That's what her excuse was for taking the phone. Listen to his argument one last time.
Analysis as to probable cause and the exigency. When it comes to the exigency, the direct testimony that was elicited during the hearing is that to law enforcement, there is no exigency at the point that the phone is known to have been factory reset, that there is no imminent destruction of evidence because there's no further destruction of evidence. It's already been destroyed. So while we can speculate and guess as to what Tagler and Acosta, the detectives on scene, were thinking as to seizing the phone, what we know for a fact from the Orange County Sheriff's Office is that they know that once a phone's factory reset, it's gone. There's no more imminent destruction. So for the exigency element, I would argue that makes sense. Moving on to the second motion, if your honor's ready.
Man, they still going. How much more time this thing got? Oh, man, it's got like 30 more minutes. Oh, boy. You guys want to do this another day? I mean, we're already, guys, yeah. I'd like to sit down and just relax and like watch a little anime before I have to go to bed. It's already late. I think we'll stop it right here. I think we'll finish this off tomorrow sometime. And then, you know, it's just 30 minutes, so we'll add something else on to the show too. There's other things to talk about. Who knows? Maybe one of you guys might drop something profound in the chat via email or in the comment section that will make me compelled to talk about it on the show like you guys have been doing the last few days. But yeah, I think this is a good time to end it. I don't like to abuse my audience, and you guys are hanging out with me at midnight. What time is it? Like midnight 45 now, midnight 42. I think I've abused you long enough. You guys hanged out with me long enough. So I do appreciate you. So guys, make sure you hit that like button on your way out the door. I do appreciate you guys for showing love. For everybody who dropped me a super chat, thank you so much for the super chats and for the support for the channel. For those of you who gave gift memberships and who just signed up for a membership, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the gift memberships and for signing up for the membership and supporting the channel. You guys are amazing. I mean, I got the best audience on the planet. And how do I know I got the best audience on the planet? Because I share my audience with some of the greats of true crime. So the fact that you guys subscribe to the greats and still subscribe to me as well means I'm in good company. And I do appreciate that. And it never escapes me. It is an honor to be here. Somebody said it's an honor to be in this live stream with you, Strategic. No, it's an honor to be with you. The pleasure is all mine. And I never forget that. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting the channel. I'm just going to go to the area that shows me people who show love. Make sure that I did not miss anybody, and I did not. I shouted every single person who showed love to this channel. I shouted them out, and that's always a great day. Never leave a man behind, right? That's like our motto on True Crime Strategic when it comes to the fan funding. Never, never. Always shout everybody out. You guys are amazing. You guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys on the next one. Let me set that outro out. Strategic is out of here. Peace.